What's going on, guys? Life of Lee podcast. I'm your boy Lee. You know what's happening. I watched the other episodes back, and my intros were really formal. Like, "Hi, welcome to the Life of Lee. I am your host, Lee Anthony." And I ain't here to be formal. I'm just here trying to have a chat with you guys. You know what I mean? Just shoot the shit for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So this is the one. This is why I initially started this podcast, was simply to tell this story because it's a fucking doozy. Um, First though, I didn't really cover in my last video. I didn't really cover entities that much, and the funny thing with DMT entities is there's a lot of people who believe that when you take DMT, it just all happens in your mind. It's just 100% internal. Everything that you see is a projection or a manifestation of your own consciousness, your own thoughts, your own opinions, your own culture, whatever. But in terms of the DMT entities, there is mass correlation in experiences where people encounter jesters, and I'm talking like medieval jesters. Usually they look a bit more psychedelic than your traditional jesters, but jesters nonetheless. And that, for me, that raises a couple of questions. Like, if this is all in our mind, why would so many people across so many countries and backgrounds and cultures and upbringings all have these archetypal jesters, like, in their mind waiting to come out? And also, where did jesters come from originally anyway? Like, I could probably Google this, but why would a mid-century a medieval clown figure, why would it be so dominant and prominent in the DMT realm? Makes no sense to me whatsoever. So I'd had a couple of experiences with entities. The first time I saw the jesters, it wasn't a fully embodied jester. I'd went to this place, and again, so hard to describe all this stuff, but it was, see, like film strips. It was like film strips, and where each picture is, it was, again, it was as if whole lives were getting played out in the one time, as if it was all spread. But I'm talking like in a little, it looked like film strips, so you've got a little tiny box, but all this life was happening. And in the, it's like in film strips, you've got the pictured bit, and then you've got the bit with the holes in it that gets wound up in the camera and that kind of stuff. On the border, in each corner, was a little jester face. And I discovered I could ask it questions, and they would nod or shake their head in response. Like, I'd had, through my previous experiences with DMT, I really had this big question: where is the consciousness seated in the body? Because I don't think it's the brain, and like, I think the brain's just the processor for consciousness, which doesn't really make sense. But take some DMT. See if you've not done it and you're sitting like, what the fuck's this guy talking about? Just go take some, and then we'll be on the same page, and we'll be cool. I can. I don't want to make any promises, but I'm pretty sure nothing bad will happen to you. Like I said in my last video. Oh no, not in my last video, in the video that I made in the woods yesterday. One of two things will happen. Either it will be the greatest experience of your life and you'll want to do it again, or it will be the greatest experience of your life and you won't want to do it again. But either way, you'll get an insight into what's happening. And if you've already taken drugs like ecstasy or even acid and you thought, oh, I know what it's all about, you don't. You don't. You do not. There's nothing. I've taken, as I've done an episode on, I've taken a lot of different drugs. Wouldn't take most of them now. Like, I wouldn't take coke again. I wouldn't take ecstasy or MDMA again. And this is something I meant to say in that video, because someone messaged me saying, and I don't know if they were being sarcastic or not, but they mentioned something about coke in relation to what I'd said in that video. Yeah, I've done coke. Big fucking deal. And if you judge that, then if you have never taken any external substance that created any kind of difference in your consciousness whatsoever, then cool. You can judge me all you fucking want, and it's deserved because you've kept it clean. Like my mum, I've never seen my mum drunk. She's never done a drunk. She does drink now and again. She'll have a couple of Tia Marias, but I've never seen her drunk. She can judge me on my drug use. But, in fact, no, sorry, she can't. This is my point here. My mum drinks a lot of coffee, right? Now, coffee is a habit-forming stimulant, right? Cocaine is a habit-forming stimulant. So why is one, oh, he's a cokehead, oh, fucking, aye, he does coke him, oh, fuck, I wouldn't have thought, oh, he's done coke before, oh, he was talking about coke. It's held with this, like, ooh, but coffee is fine. Like, how many people work in offices and they walk in and, you know, oh, they've got that Karen, we'll call it, that's like, oh, I just can't do a thing in the morning without my coffee. Oh, I need my coffee. Oh, if I don't have my coffee, oh, I'll kill somebody. That's a habit. That's a drug habit right there. And you can sit and go, oh, but it's different. It's only different because they sell it in Asda. That's it. That's the only fucking difference. They're both two substances that are extracted from plants. They're both two substances exported into this country. They're both two habit-forming stimulants, but one is fine. One is absolutely perfect. You'll have coffee machines in your work. You'll have aisles of it in the supermarket. But the other one is illegal, and if you take it, you're a scumbag. Seriously, imagine if they were flipped, right? Imagine if cocaine had never been illegal, and it had the availability that coffee has now, and yet coffee was illegal, and you had to go for those same kind of channels to, you know, get a cup of brew. You know what I mean? Like, just think about that. It shows you right there and then how ridiculous laws are. Like, it really does. So if you hear someone taking coke, or you know someone does coke, and you think you can judge them in any way while you're sitting sipping your fifth coffee of the day, and if you don't have it, you start getting jittery and that, go fuck yourself. You can't judge anybody. Like, no one can really judge anybody. It's fucking madness. But anyway, that was something that I felt I left out of the last video, and I really wanted to put in this one. Just, if you drink coffee, you're a cokehead. That's I don't drink coffee, but I have done coke. So anyway, DMT entities. So I'd met jesters a few times, and I'd also met not monsters, but just not typical humanoid kind of things, like just Cronenberg type monsters. I need to spark this up. This is my last of my weed, but this is going to be a fucking, you need a little something for a video like this. That's the other thing. This is going to be a feature length episode. I'm going to do half an hour now, and then I took like half hour video on a field trip yesterday, and then I'm going to come back and talk for another half hour afterwards, and then edit all of them together and wait 3 days on it exporting. Yeah, that's the thing. I wanted to be as honest as possible with you guys about the whole process of not just doing this podcast, but my life in general. That's why it's called Life Elite. And I started this podcast. The first one was released on Valentine's Day. No significance whatsoever. I'm just single as fuck, so I wasn't busy that day. And so it's now the 25th, so that was 11 days ago I released my first episode. Yesterday, out of the 4 episodes that were up, I had 810 views total, which, for me, like, that's fucking... If I was sitting like, if one person watches this, you know, at least it'll be worth it, but 810 people spread across 4 episodes. Gang. So yeah, when I started this, I was so excited about it, and I was so involved in the process, and I was like, yeah, let's film it, and then I'll edit it, and I'll cut out little clips, and I started an Instagram, you know, I'm going to start trying to promote myself and play this social media game, you know, get the numbers in, and I was feeling it. I was having fun. I was making little fucking story videos, like fucking singing in the shower, and putting my phone in the fridge and opening it, like, oh, didn't see you guys, like all this cliched bullshit that unfortunately you kind of need to do if you want to play the social media game. And it was getting alright responses, like people were digging it, and the videos themselves were getting good responses. I had people hitting me up from like primary school. I had friends that I haven't spoken to in years hitting me up, just wanting to shoot the shit based on what was in the videos. And then I was like, right, I need to film episode 5, which is the reason I wanted to do all this in the first place. And I planned to do it, I think Thursday night. I was like, right, I'll get up tomorrow and I'll film that, and then I'll go down to the woods to the camping spot and I'll film a wee video there, come back, film it. And I woke up Friday morning and I just could not be fucked. Couldn't be fucked with any. Couldn't be fucked filming this. Couldn't be fucked fucking going down the woods to film the other bit. Couldn't be fucked, you know, trying to do something to... Like, I do the Wim Hof meditation every day. Usually I do it in my room. But since I started the Instagram, I was like, fuck it. I'll like usually I go down the woods more in the summer. I don't like being cold and wet. I just don't. Like I've been cold and wet before, and if I need to be, I will be up to extreme conditions. But if I can choose not to, then I won't. Like a lot of people will go out and train parkour in the wet and shit, and they'll be like, "Oh well, the weather's just another obstacle that you need to overcome." I don't know why I keep doing this fucking Kevin Bridges West Glasgow accent, but it's fun. Um, yeah, and I don't really go out training parkour when it's raining because I don't like get my feet wet. I don't like soggy socks, and I'll just train harder in the summer. I don't give a fuck. So why did I go into that tangent? I don't know. Yeah. So I'd planned to go out on the Friday. Oh, sorry, that's the Wim Hof. So most days I just do it in my room when I wake up. But since I started the Instagram and shit, I was like, you know what? I'll go walk down the woods. There's really cool places down there, and I'll do my Wim Hof there, and then I can get a picture of it, and it's more content at the end of the day. And I've also maybe secured an affiliation with a sportswear brand, which for me is hilarious because I don't really work out. Like I've never been in a gym a day in my life, but I'm in pretty good shape, and it's just due to parkour. So for me to get like an affiliation with sportswear brand where everyone else is putting up pictures of them in the gym, getting that pump on, but when I start doing it, I'm going to be putting pictures of like rooftops and like parkour shit and all that. So it's going to be a new element, which is it's quite cool. But again, it's going to require more interaction in social media and more putting out content and all that kind of stuff. So Thursday, I planned to get all this shit done. Woke up Friday and I could not be fucked. Like just literally could not be fucked. Could barely get out of bed that day. I was just not feeling it whatsoever. Saturday came around, same thing again. Like just barely went on social media, didn't post anything, didn't record anything, didn't make any leeway whatsoever. I wasn't playing guitar, I wasn't doing fuck all. Sunday, pretty much the same thing. And then Sunday night I kinda caught myself and I had to have a word with myself, like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like you're letting days pass you by, not even like you're not just wasting 10 minutes, you're literally letting days pass you by. And why? Like, why even start a podcast if you're then gonna fucking just call it quits like 10 days later? Why fucking start an Instagram and start trying to do shit if you're just not gonna follow up every single day? And I had to give myself a bit of a bollocking to actually get me to go back out. So yesterday, Monday, like it was cold, it was raining, it was snowing and shit, but I forced myself to hike like the hour it takes to get to this camping spot to film shit. And yeah, I'm back on track now, but like I just had a rough couple of days where I just had no interest in anything. But I gave myself the time to go through that, and now I'm back doing it again. Like I didn't dwell on it. Like so many people that I've spoke to anyway, when they say they've got depression, I feel it's because they're dwelling on bad thoughts too much. And I know that's really easy to say, but I've been through it. And what I noticed is no one ever dwells on happiness. I've never met anyone and be like, "Oh, what's up, man? What you been up to?" And they've said, "Oh, not much, man. I went for a bit of happiness a couple of weeks ago, so I was just trying to deal with that and get back on track." Like, for me, happiness at times is more destructive than depression. If you know what I mean, like there was times when I was going through my battles that, or not going through my battles, but there's been more times I've woke up in the morning and looked out and it's been a nice sunny day, and I've been like, "Oh, I could go and do stuff. Oh, I'm so excited. It's nice. It's warm." And then ended up not going to work and phoning in sick, blah, 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 is where I was going through my depression. It was like, oh, well, I might as well just drag myself in because, I may as well be in there than being here. At least I'm getting paid there. Like, fuck it. Like, for me, happiness it causes more problems than sadness at times, but no one dwells on it. Like, how many times have you been like, fucking, "Oh, yes, honey, I'll be home by 11 tonight." But then you're out with the boys and you're having the drinks and you're having so much fun, you staggering at 3, you have a bit of a Barney, and then she's turning the wains against us. But no one ever dwells on happiness. No one ever You know, I was a bit happy last Tuesday, man. It fucked me up for a couple of days. And happiness does fuck you up. Happiness makes you giddy. It makes you make choices that you might not usually make. You know, it makes you fucking more extroverted and more. Yeah. This is meant to be a bit psychedelic, so but we'll just swing around. That's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to shoot the shit here. But anyway, we'll go back to the entities because there was one very, very important meeting that I had with three entities. So this took place. I'd already been travelling, and it was one of these time dilation ones. I meant to go into this as well. In the episode where I said I had a trip that lasted billions of years, what happened was I'd been travelling for like literally billions of lifetimes, and then I morphed into this volcano, and it was purple. It was as if it was like a purple planet, and I was made of purple rock. And every now and again, I would erupt, and it would be these like they look like see the same material Beanie Babies are made out of. It's like that shiny, nylon-y kind of, you know, but it was psychedelic coloured. And when I would erupt, like these little psychedelic sausages would fire out, and they would hit the ground, and then they would just like all wiggle away. And I'm like talking into the horizon, and I started doing this for lifetimes, just every now and again, erupting for hundreds, thousands, millions of years, just going. And I knew that all the sausages, psychedelic sausages that I erupted, I knew they were crawling away to live out their life full of love and understanding. And that sounds like some proper hippie shit, but that's what happened. You know, that is fucking what happened. And but that's the thing, as bizarre as that sounds and as crazy as it was, it's still not as nuts as the story you are about to hear. From my perspective anyway, from me being through these things, it's this other story is just wilder. So anyway, the time I met the three entities, I've been traveling through like hyperspace, like not just geometric shapes, but like sacred geometric shapes and shit. And I eventually came to not the end, but it's so murky. But eventually, I was walking on this like walkway, and it was silver, as if it was going into, as if it was just suspended there. Like if you've ever played Mario Kart, it was like Rainbow Road, but not as psychedelic as Rainbow Road is in Mario Kart. It was more plainer than that. And I was walking down, and at the end there was like a circle kind of platform, and there was three entities stood there, right? Now these entities, they were humanoid in shape, but to me they looked as if like if humans were allowed to evolve for the next billion years and integrate technology and just like evolve to their absolute peak of evolution. That's what these guys were. That's what they looked like. They just looked perfect. They looked like the pinnacle of existence. And I've walked up to him and I had a conversation with him. Now, I've always been a big believer in the simulation hypothesis, and I actually came up with my own simulation hypothesis before I'd heard of Nick Bostrom simulation hypothesis. And it comes from, if you played The Sims, right? Now, obviously that's a completely virtual world that you've created, you've made their house and all this kind of shit, blah, blah, blah. Bear with me for a second here. Imagine if your Sims became sentient, right? The same way we are, they were aware of their own existence, and then the same way we did in the Middle Ages. Like, you need to remember there was a scientific revolution a few hundred years back. Like, up to this point, the church pretty much decided what happened and why it happened, and if there's thunder, it was that was God laughing, and if someone died, it was God working in mysterious ways, and all this. Everything was God. But then people start to notice different things that weren't really adding up, and thinking, it seems like there's natural systems in place here that we could probably study within themselves and find out the origin and the cause and the effect and that kind of shit within itself, without invoking an imaginary guy that's just sitting playing Sims and like fucking lightning effect, rain, And that was basically the birth of science. You then had scientists going out, and the first thing that they did was basically name everything that they saw. All right, that's a tree. Right, that's also a tree though, but that one looks different for that one. Right, it's a pine tree. It's a spruce tree. Cool. Write that down. Right, what's this bit? Right, we'll call that a branch. What about the bit in the end? Right, we'll call that a leaf. Fuck. Right, so we've got a leaf. I just cut this open, by the way, and there's more shit inside this. Right, we'll call them bits cells, and that, you know, they went out and just named everything, and then everything they named, they broke it apart to see what that was made up of, and then they named that shit, they broke it apart, they broke it apart, they broke it apart. So, if you imagine that your Sims became sentient, and they were aware of their own existence, and they started looking into the world around them to see what they were made up of. Eventually, they would discover they were made up of pixels. Eventually, they would discover that everything in their world was made up of pixels. Kind of the same way that we discovered everything in our world is made up of atoms. Everything. Like, the phone that's recording this is made up of atoms, and it is a inanimate, non-sentient object. I'm also made up of atoms, but I'm sitting talking to you right now. And you're made up of atoms, and you're sitting hearing me, but the chair you're sitting on is also made up of atoms, and I don't think it's hearing me, you know? So, in the sim reality, the same thing essentially would happen. They would go up to a wall and they would break it down and be like, oh, right, it's made up of bricks, and then they would break that down and blah, blah, blah. And eventually they would get to the point where they would see that everything was made up of pixels or atoms. And then, much the same as we did, we broke open, like, we got to the atom and we thought, all right, this is the absolute pinnacle of our building blocks. This is as far down as it goes. And then some crazy bastard cracked the atom. When that happened, they found, oh shit, there's more stuff in here. Quarks and tasars, quasars. Get into quantum mechanics as much as you can. It's fascinating, and it's more fucking science fiction than anything that I've ever read. But the thing is, when you get to the subatomic scale, all of the laws of nature stop working. Like quarks and quasars and all that kind of shit, they react completely differently to atoms themselves, and yet atoms are made up of them. The same way, if the Sims got down to pixels and then they cracked that open, they would see, alright, pixels are just made up of code. Like, pretty much binary code. Like, if you've seen The Matrix, you can maybe see where I'm going with this. So that was my simulation hypothesis. And it was also corroborated by, if you play Grand Theft Auto, right, the first time you're playing Grand Theft Auto, like Grand Theft Auto 5, you've never played it before, and you're walking around and you bump into someone, and they'll go, hey, watch it, buddy. And you're like, holy shit, that's fucking AI. I bumped into that guy, and that guy reacted, and he knew to say, hey, watch it, buddy, and not like fucking, you know, hey, did you just poke me? Because you didn't poke him, you just bumped him. So, and you're like, wow, that guy spoke to me. And then you'll bump into someone else and they'll go, look where you're going. And you're like, holy shit, it's different. Each person responds differently. But then you bump into 20 people and you start to see that every 4 or 5 times it's the exact same reply in the exact same cadence, because it's not AI. Well, it is AI, but it's a very rudimentary programmed AI that's, I don't know how fucking games work, but I've got a brief idea. And I noticed that when I was out training parkour, we would always get the same people, no matter what city we were in, no matter how many of us there was, like, no matter the variables, we would inevitably get the same people saying the exact same stuff to us. We would always get the old boy that would walk by and go, oh, I used to do that when I was young. We would always get the group of kind of young guys that would walk by, and one of them would always go, here guys, watch this. And then they would do a forward roll, and all their mates would go, you know. We would always get the fucking, the businesswoman, the Karen, that would walk by, and she'd go, like, oh, that looks dangerous. And it would always be the exact same type of people, like, just with different skins, but saying the exact same words. And I'm starting to think, like, these are bots. These are non-playable characters. These are fucking rudimentary programmed AI. Like that's the way I see it, and that was the birth of my simulation hypothesis. Um, and then I found out about Nick Bostrom simulation hypothesis, which to me makes a lot of fucking sense. And most scientists now say or agree, sorry, that it's statistically more likely that we live in a simulation than a base reality. Which, like, I don't have a PhD, but the dudes that have PhDs, that's what a lot of them saying. So don't take my word for it. Go and do your own research, as always. So I've only got like 5 minutes left of this segment. Met these three entities, and we spoke about a couple of things. Like, I asked them if I was special in any way, and there was reasons behind that I won't get into just now. And they said, yes, you are Buddha, you are God, you are Jesus, you are the one. That was their exact quote. You are Buddha, you are God, you are Jesus, you are the one. But if you go on like different DMT pages and that, quite a lot of entities have told quite a lot of people that they are God or that they are one or whatever. And I think it's kind of indicative of the fact that we all are one. We are all God consciousness. We are all slivers of the Creator. Like it was in the Bible, God made us in His image, all of us. So I don't see why people worship Jesus so much. Oh, he was the Son of God. I'm the Son of God. You're the Son of God, daughter of God, fucking whatever of God. We're all as special as Jesus was. That's the way I fucking see it. I ain't coming out like Kanye saying I am Jesus. Like, I ain't gonna walk in water, but I can backflip. So, anyway, as these three entities, if my reality was a simulation, and they said yes, it is 100%, but not in the way that you think of it or the way you conceptualize it. And the only thing we can say to you is, don't worry about it. Don't worry about a single thing. One day, at some point in time, you will be outside of the system and you will see how it all worked and what your place in it was and what the larger plan was. But right now, yes, you are in a simulation and you will remain there until it's time to come out. And anything that happens in there is fine. It's absolutely fine. Do not worry about a single fucking thing. And I'm like, cool, thanks guys. And like whatever, if you're a faith-based person in any way, like I am, like I, I don't want to like have a go at any religious people. Okay, that's your faith, that's your thing. But if you're a Christian, right, and you read the Bible, that's your book. Do me a favor, go read a book by a guy called Krishnamurti, Jake Krishnamurti. I can't remember his first name. Called Freedom from the Known, right? Because in that book, he talks about second-hand people, basically. And there is a lot of second-hand people kicking about. If you're classically religious, be it Jewish, be it Christian, be it fucking whatever, then you are a second-hand person and you are not living your own life. You're living life dictated by what other people came here and experienced. Right? Now, people will say that they read the Bible and they found God through the Bible, and people will say that God, talks to them in mysterious ways and he guides them and blah, blah, blah. I've never thanked God for anything. I've never prayed for anything. And as far as, like, for me, my life's been pretty cool and pretty awesome, and I've got to do some pretty cool shit. Whereas I know people that pray for a better life to their God and blah, 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 and it doesn't really happen, right? Now, the thing is, all of my faith, all of my everything I believe in, I've came to it on my own. Like, I studied Buddhism from roughly the age 12, 13. I'd never say I was a Buddhist, but I studied it. And one of the things that attracted me to that was I heard a quote from Buddha that said, "Take from my teachings that which resonates with you, or only that which resonates with you." And I'm like, I can get along with that guy. There's no, here's 10 commandments, you don't do this, you burn in hell. Oh, but I love you, you know? He was just like, look, I came here, I figured some shit out. It helped me. If you like it, if you dig it, take it. If you don't, cool. If you like that little bit, but you don't like that bit, crack on. I'm like, sweet. I vibe with that. You know what I mean? And for me, meeting those three entities, they weren't God, but to me they were fifth dimensional beings. Like there's a great video by a guy called Aaron Ackaby, I don't know, but if you just search Aaron Ackaby 7 levels of consciousness, he explains what it's from the book of, I can't remember, just fucking Google it. But what he explains in consciousness really makes a lot of sense there. And to me, I was meeting beings of a much higher evolved stature than this reality is, and they directly told me that this is a simulation, and that is what I will believe from here on out. But anyway, we've just went over the 30-minute mark, so now I'm going to cut to the woods video. And there's a clip of, because I passed this on my way there anyway, there was a spot where I was originally going to camp. I made a little video, but I made it vertical, so it'll probably fuck up the ratio. And then there's like a half-hour video of me taking you around the campsite, telling you the story. You can watch that and then come back in half an hour and I'll tell you the rest of the story and what's happened since then. What's going on, guys? We're out on a little field trip today. So I've been running around these woods since I was like 5 years old, and there is hundreds of places that I could have came to camp, like really picturesque places, little tucked away places. And the camping trip was meant to be 2 nights, 3 days, 3 days, 2 nights. So I wanted a place where I'd be comfortable and a place that, you know, I could run around for a couple of days in the woods. So this is a place I'd settled on. Lots of really nice big ass trees and stuff. It looks really nice. Yeah, I thought, yeah, I could spend 3 days here getting right with the Lord. So on the day that I came camping, got up really early, packed all my shit up, hiked in here, and when I got here I thought, you know what, this just isn't the place. Like, it just didn't feel right, and it had felt so right before, like my heart was set on this place, like look at it, it's gorgeous. But when I got here, something was just telling me, nope, keep on heading. So I did, and then it takes like 20 minutes to get there, so I'll see you there. What's going on, guys? So we're here. This is the camping spot. I was meant to be camping back that place, didn't feel right, so I hiked on for another 20 minutes, half an hour, and I came to here. Looks kind of nondescript, but I was walking around, like I only had my hammock with me. I wanted to keep this trip as minimalist as possible, so I just had my hammock. And I got to this bit and I thought, you know, there's a nice big circle of trees and that would provide like good wind cover. And I saw this little bit, and I thought, right, these 2 trees here, perfect, can put the hammock between there. This little bit here be great for a fire. You've got this like kind of clearing bit here, nice wee view here, and yeah, so started setting up camp. Tied the hammock from that tree to that tree. My bag was here. Then I started collecting firewood and made like a pile of firewood there, which was pretty big. I spent like 2-3 hours on it. And then built up a fire. And this little bit here, I don't know if you can see, like that is just perfect for fitting your bum in, you know, if you're sitting in front of the fire for a little while. So let's get a wee seat and get into this tale. So my plan was, I had 3 hits of DMT down with me, 3 0.05 hits, because I didn't want to go too nuts because I'm down the woods. And that's the thing, like everyone that knew I was doing this, they had no idea where I was actually going. And even if I told them, like I ended up going to a different place anyway. And it's kind of, some people might say it's irresponsible or whatever, but it was kind of what I wanted. Like I wanted 3 days just away, just disconnect from everything, from social media, the internet, television, family, friends, everything. I just wanted 3 days by myself in the woods, DMT, like a vision quest, you know. So yeah, I spent the first day, built up a fire, smoked a couple of joints, just, you know, sitting, feeling the vibe. And can I sit this down so I'm not holding it? Fuck it. I had my fire, done some meditation, like some Wim Hof meditation, and then my own just kind of breathing work that I've developed over the years. And I was feeling pretty good, feeling really good. It got dark that night. Now this was in November, so I think the coldest it got when I was away was -4, and that was another part. So that was another reason for doing the trip. Like I could have left it to the summer, could have left it to even the spring. It might have been better, but putting myself in that situation for a couple of days, there was a reason behind it. Like I knew I could go home at any minute and, you know, have nice hot food and have a nice warm bath and then lie in my nice warm bed and watch TV. Like those are luxuries, and I have them every single day. So for me, it was nice to just take a break from everything. Like I came down here with no food, I was fasting, I just had water, and like I wanted to be cold for a couple of days, you know, I wanted to be like just against the elements for a couple of days, because essentially it doesn't matter. And like there's homeless people out there that need to face this shit every fucking day, so surely I can do it for a couple of days knowing that I've got a nice house and food and, you know, to go back to. So came down, had my fire going, I'm sitting here, I'm just thinking my thoughts, feeling good, thinking, right, my plan was I was going to hit DMT that night in the hammock, and then the next two I was going to have one kind of earlier the next day so I could get up, have my trip, see what happened, and then integrate it and that kind of stuff. And then the last trip I was going to save for sunset, have that trip, have that night, go to sleep, wake up the next morning, go home. And so got into the hammock that night and I had my first trip, and I'll say it was a pretty standard DMT trip up to the end. Like it's literally pointless trying to describe it, because one, I don't have the words to describe it, and two, I can describe whatever I've seen, but then you could go and take DMT and see completely different stuff. So I can't, me explaining anything, it's not like I'm giving you an insight into the DMT world. The only person that can give you insight into DMT is yourself, and that's why I would implore anybody, if you've even just thought about it a little bit, just do it. Like it's a 20-minute trip. Either one or two things are going to happen. It's going to be the most incredible experience of your life, and you'll learn a lot of it from it. You might want to do it again, and it might completely change who you are as a person, or it will be the most incredible experience of your life and you won't want to do it again. That's pretty much the long and the short of it as far as I'm concerned. Like, yeah, there's some people out there that have got different mental conditions and mental health concerns, and they probably shouldn't take it. So I think you would know within yourself whether you should or shouldn't. But anyway, I'm not here to convince you. This is the life of Lee. I've already done it. This is my story of it. So I was lying in the hammock, took the first hit, pretty standard, and up until when I was coming out of it. So when you take DMT, you're pretty much disassociated from your body and like this reality for 15-20 minutes, and then when you come back around and you start like opening your eyes and stuff, there's still, it's like you've got 1 foot in and 1 foot out, you know, and then slowly, not even slowly, like it happens pretty quick, you come back to base reality and you're 100% here again. So I took the hit, or the 3 hits, had the trip about 20 minutes, and then when I was coming out of it and I opened my eyes for the first time, I was not me. I cannot explain this, but I was not me. I was an old man. That is, I just was an old man. I was wearing gloves so I couldn't see my hands or anything, but I was not in my body. I was not me. I can't explain this anymore. I just was not me. So I closed my eyes and opened them. And when I opened them, I was my dad. Now, I do not get on with my dad whatsoever. And to be in a situation where I thought I had occupied his body, or I'd been transported into his body, I just was not me. I wasn't my body. I wasn't in my mind. I just wasn't me. I felt alien. And the first time I just felt like an old man. And then the second time, I had 100%. I don't even know how to explain it. I wasn't me, okay? I was occupying the body. I was still here. I was still in this place, but I hadn't came back into my body. So I closed my eyes again and opened them, and I was me, and I was cool, and I was happy to be me again. So got out my hammock, came down to the fire. It was all completely pitch black in the woods, you know, there's sounds, there's little animals running around, and it's cool as fuck. So, yeah, long story short, went to bed. Woke up the next morning, beautiful sunrise, and I rebuilt my fire a little bit, and then I thought, right, I'll have this first hit kind of soon, so I've got the rest of the day to, you know, integrate it and reflect on it. And then I'll save this third hit for sunset. I'm going to try and put this phone here so I don't need to hold it the whole fucking time. There we go. That'll do. So, yeah, the next day, I was sitting there, I'd built up my fire. Now my fire was built of like a mismatch of twigs that I just found lying around, and they'd burnt down to different, you know, it was a fire that had burnt overnight. So I built it up a little bit, lit it again, sat and had a joint, done a bit of breathing work, whatever, and I thought, right, let's do this. Took the first hit, and I started to get the visuals, you know, like you can start to see the air, things start to go a little bit wavy. Second hit, third hit, held it in, closed my eyes, nothing. Absolutely nothing. There was just pitch blackness. There wasn't a hint of DMT whatsoever. No closed eyes visuals, no blasting off, no waiting room, just absolutely nothing. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it was the same batch that I'd been smoking, you know, there was no variables whatsoever in the product. So I'm sitting here, just taking the 3 big hits, eyes closed. I open my eyes and I look at the fire, right? And it wasn't my fire. All the sticks that I'd put in were like small sticks, you know, just a mismatch of twigs. This fire looked like it had been built by all sticks of the same size. They were kind of this thickness and this length, but they didn't have bark on them. The bark on these branches, I saw one earlier, the bark on these branches was more like, see, like an acorn? See, like that kind of texture? And I've never seen branches like that. They maybe exist, but I just haven't seen them. And that's what made up this fire. 7, 8, 9 of these kind of sticks, and they were burning away merrily. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's not my fire. That's not even fucking close to my fire. So then I looked over here, and my hammock was still hung. These trees were in the same place. I think they might have been a little bit different, but where there's only one branch over there, my hammock was like going through here. There was another 2 branches, one going up this way and one coming from this way, and it would have made getting in and out of my hammock really, not like impossible, but impractical, because you would have had to like thread yourself through these branches to get into it. So I'm sitting, this is like 10 seconds into the trip, maybe 15, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that is not my fire, that is not my tree. Like, what the, like, it was not what I was expecting. I was expecting the DMT realm, not what happened. So then I turned around, oops, get my big stupid thumb out of the way. Now, all these trees that you see here, there was maybe 75% of them, like they weren't as built up. And see how these trees are pretty tall and pretty straight? All the trees that I could see were all bent over from right to left, as if like they'd been under intense wind their entire life, like a right to left wind, and it caused them to bend. Like when I used to grow weed, we had fans in the place, and the ones that were right next to the fan, the ones that were constantly under the pressure of the wind, their stems would naturally just start growing over. And that's exactly what this looked like. So I'm sitting like, holy shit, I am not in Kansas anymore. And that, you know, like, I instantly thought, I've crossed over to an alternate dimension. So I get up, I start walking around, and all these trees here, there was definitely less trees, but it was the same location. Like there was the same like that pathy kind of bit was still there, and you know, it's the same geographical location, but all these trees were different. All these trees were bent over, and like I don't know if they were the same species or whatever the fuck. I'm not really a big tree kind of guy, and there was definitely less trees. There was maybe 25% less trees. So I start walking around, and my mind is going overtime by this point. I'm thinking, holy shit, I've crossed to an alternate reality, and I was so excited about this. So fucking excited. I'm quite an adventurous person, you know, like I like exploring, I like going on journeys, and you know, and for me this was the ultimate adventure, like crossing over to an alternate reality. That is me all over. Like it felt like this is what I'd been waiting for my entire fucking life, and it felt like everything I'd done had trained me for this, like being in the army, survival, and being a free runner, and my physicality, and just my intellect, and you know, the stuff that I'm interested in, and science and everything. It felt like I was the fucking ideal candidate for this to happen to, and it had happened. Like I was 100% convinced I'd crossed to an alternate reality, and I was so excited to go home. Like the possibilities that were running through my mind, like maybe instead of having a brother in this reality, I've got a sister. You know, maybe I didn't break up with my ex, maybe we're still together. Maybe instead of cats I've got dogs. Maybe, like, there's so many possibilities running through my mind, and I was happy, I was calm, I was excited, I was, you know, it was like a new frontier. So I was walking around, and it seemed everything held in place for maybe 10-15 minutes, and then it seemed that wherever I wasn't looking reverted back to this reality. Like if you're a Rick and Morty fan, we'll call me Lee C-137, and this is the C-137 reality. If you're not a Rick and Morty fan, never mind. So yeah, everything held like that for 10-15 minutes, and then it seemed like wherever I wasn't looking reverted back to my reality, C-137. So what I think had happened, right? Now, I've always been quite a big believer in the many worlds theory. Like anytime you make a decision in life, opposite reality branches off from that decision. So anytime you said this word, another reality opened up that said the other word. Anytime you suggested something, another reality opened up where you said no, vice versa. If you said no, then there was one where you said yes. And basically, like, I think the universe is a processing machine where it is just trying to spit out every possible combination of everything, every single possible combination of atoms and molecules, and then if those atoms make up people, every single combination of person, every single interaction between every single combination of every person. Like, I think there's infinite worlds where every single possibility is playing out. So, like, there's a world where the Avengers exist. There's a world where, like, there's already been a mass nuclear war, and like there's only 3 people left in the world. I just think every possibility is a possibility. And in my mind, what had happened was me and, say, Lee C-136 both decided to take DMT. Maybe infinite amounts of Lees had decided to take DMT on that day to go down the woods and blah blah blah. And me and Lee C-136, we both hit the pipe at the exact same time, and that enabled us to bypass the DMT world and just cross over between our 2 worlds. Okay? Now, you can always caveat, and I'll caveat this myself by saying, yes, I took DMT, the most powerful psychedelic known to man, as far as I know. It's a drug. It makes crazy shit happen. And you can dismiss all of this story as, oh yeah, Lee went down the woods and took drugs and fucked his brain up. I'm happy with that. If that's what you want to think, that's cool. But there's some more collaborating corroborating evidence coming up later on. So that lasted like maybe 20 minutes. And my mind was fucking blown. I was just sitting thinking about all the possibilities, the implications, what this meant, what it didn't mean, if it meant anything at all, if it was real, if it was just a DMT. There was a lot going through my mind. So a couple hours later, I decided, right, this time, I'm going to take this third and final hit, and we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll cross over again, maybe something cool will happen, maybe, who knows. So, sat down again on my trusty little log, built the fire up a little bit, got my pipe, took the 3 hits, closed my eyes, and again, there was nothing. Just blackness. So opened my eyes, and this time, the fire in front of me was almost like a kaleidoscope effect. It was as if it was split into 3 diagonal sections, like my actual perception was split into sections. And the left section seemed to be my reality. The middle section seemed to be the reality I'd went to that morning. But then this third section seemed to be a new reality. So, and it was as if the 3 were superimposed over each other, but were more layered over each other in segments. Like, trying to explain how this looked is, I've never, like, I wish I could do computer graphics or fucking something like that to maybe try and give a representation of what I've seen, but you'll just need to take my stumbling description. So I closed my eyes again. Still nothing, still no classical DMT traits whatsoever, no visuals, no geometrics, no fucking colours, no nothing. Open my eyes, and it was no longer split into 3, it was now in this new third reality that had settled in, it was locked in, that is where I was now. I've looked at the fire, and it's different again, more like my fire, like more random sticks than the middle one, which was more uniform sticks. Looked at the pile of wood next to it, completely different pile of wood. Looked to my left, now I think there was still, no, the trees weren't the same. This tree was still here, but these 2 were gone, and my stuff was gone. My hammock was gone, my bag was gone. And this is when I started freaking out quite a little bit, because, like, I don't know, I felt so excited the first time this happened, because it felt like I was in an alternate reality. It felt like an adjacent reality that I just switched over with my representation in that reality. This one felt different though, and it was a different geographical place. Like, if you look in front, there's like a gully kind of thing there, and there's like a clear kind of path thing here, the gully extends over there. All that was gone. All that was just like flat expanse of woods, and different woods than what I'd ever seen before in my life. And when I looked over and seen that my bag was gone, like, fuck the hammock, that was just hammock and blankets, but my bag being gone, like, my phone was in there, my knife was in there, my water was in there, my weed was in there, like that, it felt like that was my connection to my reality. And without my stuff, I was just freaking the fuck out. And I started thinking, holy shit, I don't even have any more DMT. That was my last hit. If I'm stuck here, I'm fucking stuck here. Where the fuck am I going to get DMT in this world? So, and this is all going through my mind, like, this is the first fucking minute and a half of the trip. So, everything was different. All that land there was flat, and over there, roughly, there was a hut kind of thing, and it was maybe 5 feet high, but it didn't look like it had been made with carpentry. Like, it didn't look like the logs had been like cut and joined with any kind of fasteners. It looked like they'd just been stacked, and then there was other sticks at the sides to like shore them up and give them support and that kind of stuff. It looked like a really basic rudimentary structure. So that kind of made me think, like, shit, there's other people here. There must be some kind of civilization, because that structure is definitely not natural. It's definitely man-made, but it's made in a very, very rough way. And I don't want to talk about time. Like, some people have said, oh, maybe you went back to the past or that kind of shit. I don't think time's got anything at all to fucking do with this. I think it all happened at the same time, but spread out across different realities. And I know this sounds weird, but we'll get to the end of it. So, I was sitting there already pretty freaked out. Now, like, most of my adult life has in some way or another been shaped towards overcoming fear. Like, being in the army, they literally train you and condition you how to kill humans and how to get over that in your mind. Like, that is the conditioning you go through. And also it's scary joining the army, and I joined it twice, and doing what you do and all that kind of shit. And then being a free runner, that's probably the most direct way you can have for overcoming fear and dealing. Like, I hate heights. I am terrified of heights. Whenever I go near the edge of a roof, my legs turn to fucking jelly. But see the feeling that you get when you walk to the edge of a roof and you look over and you think, if I don't make this, I'm gonna fucking die. There's so much stuff that could go wrong here, and then you take a couple of steps back, you take a deep breath, and then you start running. And you know you're running towards the edge that you just stood on, that you felt you were gonna fall off, and you're running and you take off, and then you're in the air and you cover that distance, and then you land on the other roof. Like, that is overcoming fear in the most direct and visceral and, like, you know, immediate way possible. But then also overcoming fear in social aspects, like becoming an actor. That acting still terrifies me. Anytime I've been on set, it's been an exercise in, like, anxiety and stress and fucking, like, I shouldn't be an actor. I really shouldn't. It puts me under so much fucking stress. It's not funny. But that's all just to say, like, I've been in really sketchy situations before. I've been in such situations where I thought I was going to die. I've been in situations where, you know, people have been after me. I've been in situations where just bad situations, but I've made it through all of them. And even doing things like this, even coming down the woods for 3 days by myself in November in -4 degree weather, a lot of people won't walk through these woods by themselves during the day. And it's not that anything's really ever happened in these woods, it's just people have this fear of going through woods. But I'll walk through these woods at night. I've camped down here a couple of times by myself, and it really doesn't bother me. There's no fear. Like, a lot of time it's just people make assumptions about things. Oh, I wouldn't go down there. Oh, anybody could be down there. And then they let themselves be controlled by those assumptions, which actually have no basis in reality whatsoever. And I kind of assume that there isn't going to be any boogeymen, you know, I'm not going to get eaten by a fucking bear or whatever the fuck. And I like to prove that to myself, so I'll come down and do crazy shit like this and then go back, and people will be like, oh, I wouldn't have done that. And it's, well, I did, and it was fine. So you could probably do it as well, and it would be fine if you stopped holding yourself back. Anyway, all that's to say, I've got a lot of experience overcoming fear, and fear is something that I don't really, not that I don't acknowledge it, but I definitely don't let it, like, cloud over me the way I used to, or the way a lot of people do. And, you know, I don't get scared of a lot of things anymore because of the situations that I've put myself in that have turned out fine. So instead of the assumption being, oh, that might be dangerous, I just assume it will be fine, and it removes a lot of the fear. But when I realised that all my shit was gone, I started to get scared. And I'm talking like fucking monsters under the bed, fucking scared, you know what I mean? Like, actual fucking, like, it feels like your nerves are tingling on the inside of your body. It feels like your bones get cold, that kind of fucking scared. And then I got this feeling, right? Now, this was just feeling, just pure intuition. I didn't see anything, I didn't hear anything, but it was so fucking strong. I got this feeling that somewhere over my right shoulder, not too far away, there was someone that had facilitated my being here. Now, I wrote a trip report and I put it onto a couple of pages, and I used the word witch. And people were giving me some shit about this, like, well, actually, witches are benevolent people, and I don't think they would mean to cause you any harm, and it's like, yo, I ain't talking about fucking white witches or black witches or charmed or fucking hocus pocus or any of that kind of shit. Witch was just the first word that came into my mind that came anywhere close to describing the energy that I felt from this being. If you imagine, like, a tribe of woods people, and they've got, like, the old you know, spiritual woman who, like, if you've seen Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, like that kind of witch. She was like the chicken bones and the blood, and, you know, making spells, and, you know, dark fucking mojo like that. I used that word a few times. It just felt like dark mojo, and it felt like this person was behind me, and it felt like they were watching me. You ever felt like you're getting watched, and it's so fucking real? Times that by a fucking million, and that's what I felt. And I started getting incredibly scared, like more scared than I have ever been in my fucking life. And that is a life of very scary situations. So I closed my eyes and I sent out a fucking psychic, metaphysical scream to anyone that could hear me, anyone in the fucking DMT realm, any guardian angels, any higher selves, any ancestors, anything that could tap into this spiritual fucking metaphysical realm, and if they could help me get home. Like, it wasn't words, it was just this, like, I need to get out of here, and I just, like, and then opened my eyes, and the fire in front of me was back to the freeway layered kind of thing. And I closed my eyes again, and I just focused, I just tensed everything up. I just, like, sharpened the entirety of my being to a single point, and I just tried to focus on my fire, the one that I'd built. And when I opened my eyes, it was back again. It was here, my fire. I looked, my bag was there, my hammock was there, and I'm like, okay, time to get the fuck out of the woods. Now, I'd planned to spend that night as well, and then the rest of the next day, I'd wanted to go back home around sunset the next day. And I thought, nope, that is it for me. I was fucking terrified. I have no shame in saying this. I was fucking shaking. I was so fucking, like, there was an adrenaline dump going on. I was emotional. I was just fucking, I was so fucking scared. So I came over and I had all my blankets and torches and shit were in the hammock. I had my Bergen, and I just packed everything up, fucking rammed it into this bag. I actually ended up leaving the straps for my hammock here. I had to come back and get them a couple of days later. Now, the way I came in here, it took me like an hour to hike in, and I knew, like, the river's down there, and I had to hike in, like, along the river to get to here. And I knew that to get home, I could either go back the way I came, which would take about an hour, or I could go down that hill, cross the river, which, again, this is November, -4, and I'd be home in about 10 minutes, or I'd be back on the main road in about 10 minutes. And at this point, ladies and gentlemen, I was done with the fucking woods. Like, I can't say it didn't go the way I expected it to, because I came down here for a vision quest, I came down here for an adventure, and I definitely fucking got that. But I did not want to spend a single fucking second more in these woods at that time. I was so fucking freaked out. So I grabbed my shit, went down to the river, crossed it, which was fucking so cold and so fucking dodgy and so dangerous, but I did not give a fuck because it was getting me home. I phoned my mum. Like, from where I came out of the woods at the road, it's only like a 10-minute walk to my house. But I was now, like, soaked, and I just wanted to get fucking home. So I phoned my mum, can you come and pick me up? She's came down, and, like, I might interview her for this, because she knows me pretty fucking well, you know, and she can tell you how freaked out I was, and how genuine I was with my accounting of the tale of what had just happened. So it's starting to get fucking raining now, so I'm going to start heading home. So now, like I said before, you can completely write this off as, oh, Lee was fucking on drugs and psychedelics and all this kind of shit. But a couple of points to remember, right? See the big, like, kind of pasture trees you can see here? It's a massive circle, right? And most of the trees are yew trees. Now, remember that these two trees here and that one there, so the two trees that my hammock were tied between, yew trees, right? So you can completely write this off as just a crazy psychedelic trip that all took place in my mind. Here's my theory though. The first time that I crossed over, I think it was a genuine crossing over. I think me and an old... So, that was the camping trip. And that video cut out at the end there, but my initial theory, right? And again, I took psychedelics and I was fasting, and could all have just been a hallucination. I'm completely cool with that. If that's what you want to think, that is fine. But listen to the rest of the story first before you draw your conclusions. So, if for a second we just assumed that it was real, right? Just play with me for a second here. Now, what I think happened was, the first time I did it, me and Lee C136 made a connection, and we crossed over. We made a bridge, right? And the witch, she, in her reality, she was sitting fucking doing whatever, and she sensed this like disturbance in the force. She knew there was something happening. There was some kind of mystical connection, metaphysical connection. There was two realities crossing over. And what I think happened is, she noticed it the first time, and then she got ready. And the second time it happened, I think she was ready with whatever mystical mojo she had at hand, and I think she hacked the connection and brought me into her reality, right? And that's why I instantly felt alien and disconnected. The first time I'd crossed over with an alternate me, there was a genetic imprint of me in that reality, or a metaphysical imprint, a spiritual imprint. There was a representation of me in that reality. The second reality, though, there was no representation of me there. This was outside my timeline. This was outside my lifeline, my whatever. And that's what I think happened, right? So that's a whole woodland tale. Came back, I was pretty shook up, and yeah, just got on with life. So a couple of days later, I put up a post on Facebook with pictures from the trip. Some pretty nice pictures, you know, like the hammock and the trees, and had my fire, and there was nice like ambient smoke in the background and that kind of stuff. They looked really nice. And I think I'd wrote my trip reports by this time, and people were interpreting it from a DMT point of view, like saying that the witch was one of the entities and it was all in my mind and that kind of stuff. And that's fair play. It makes a lot of sense. But then one guy who isn't a part of the DMT circles, he's like a woodlands kind of dude. Like he knows stuff. Like I'm in the woods a lot, but I just like walk around or train or meditate. Like this dude's like a Ray Mears type character. And he commented on my picture saying, "What was it like camping in the middle of a yew tree circle?" And I'm like, that sounds fucking interesting. At this time, I had no idea I knew there was a tree called a yew tree, no idea the significance of it, and no idea that not only had I been in a large circle of yew trees, but where I'd hung my hammock was a smaller circle of yew trees. So I was in concentric circles of yew trees. Now, I started researching yew trees, and yew trees are one of the most sacred trees on the planet. Like there's so much mythology attached to them. There's so much sacredness attached to them from different people and tribes and this kind of shit. Let me just read you, right? So you've heard the journey up to this point, and you can easily say that, oh yeah, you took some DMT, you were tripping balls. Now, this one line here, and I want you to remember what I said about the first DMT trip I had on the first night I was there. When I came out of it, I wasn't me, I was an old man, and I never met my grandpa, right? Like my biological grandpa. There's significance in that. And I met my dad. I don't like my dad, but I definitely was occupying his body. Like I was him. So one line of a very long fucking essay here on yew trees. The yew is considered to be the most potent tree for protection against evil, a means of connecting to your ancestors, a bridger of dreams and otherworld journeys, and a symbol of old magic. Interesting, right? I dive deeper into this, and there's stories of people going into yew tree circles and vanishing. There's stories that yew trees are poisonous and also psychoactive, but there's a legend that says if you get poisoned by a yew tree, when you die, you go to another world, right? Like, if you get shot next to the tree, then the same thing happens if you get shot anywhere else. If one of the branches falls down and fucking hits you in the head and you have a concussion and that kills you, you go the same place as everywhere else. But if you die from poisoning from the yew tree, you go to another world. Like, you are rebirthed into another world. The tree is also one of the biggest, or one of the oldest symbols of immortality and rebirth. Most churches in Britain have yew trees in their grounds. I'm just looking to see if this article's got any more of the cool shit. See, that's the thing, like, there was a lot of original kind of mythology attached to it, and then the damn Christians came along and just raped it for their own fucking means and their own myths and ceremonies, and but yeah, that's really the only line that you need to hear. Is Oh wait, here's another bit. Magically, the yew is used for summoning spirits and otherworld communication. It is linked to Samhain, when entry to the otherworld is easiest. And this was the start of November. This wasn't long after Halloween, which is Samhain. It is linked to Samhain, when entry to the otherworld is easiest, dreams are most potent, and access to the ancestors is most possible. The yew is linked to the runes, blah 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 blah. The yew can be used to assist otherworld journeys. The yew can be used to assist otherworld journeys and to increase openness of communication with the otherworld, for an increased ability to understand and receive the messages which are given to us by our guides and helpers. By opening ourselves to intuitively interpreting these messages and trusting our intuitions to act on what we receive, we can make some real progress as the wheel turns and the death of one situation heralds the birth of another. Now, this was like maybe 5 or 6 days after the trip, where I'd been sitting, and like, my best mate is he's an incredible dude. He's not just a friend. Like, we've worked together, we were in a band together, we travelled together. He's probably the biggest guiding force in my life, and he's one of the smartest dudes I have ever met. Like, this dude's got a degree in music. He is without a doubt the most talented musician that I have ever personally met in my life. And he also has a degree in genetics and a PhD in molecular biology. And I've spoke to him at length. I spoke to him about this at length because, there's, like, when I initially told him the story, he's like, "Whoa, that's a crazy fucking DMT trip." But from a scientific point of view, when you add evidence like this, when there's hundreds of years of stories of this shit happening to people, like crossing over to other worlds and all this kind of shit, it just gives my story so much more fucking credence. And, like, speaking about it with him, like, we really ironed out the kinks and the possibilities. Like, all you need to do is, like, look at quantum mechanics, look at quantum entanglement. Like, the quantum world facilitates stuff like this so easily. And also, if you look at simulation hypothesis, that facilitates stuff like this, like multiple worlds and also travel between them. And yeah, take from that what you will. Like, do your own research into yew trees. I had no idea. I had not a shred of information on these before I went down there. where I ended up camping was not where I was going to camp initially. I'd had my heart set in this other place. I'd been thinking about it, like, yeah, I'll do this, do that. Then when I got there, just didn't feel right. Carried on to the next bit. My first trip that night, when I came back, I was an old person, and what I've interpreted that as is each like lineage, ancestral lineage, has got a genetic imprint or a metaphysical imprint. There's a through line that connects all of them. And when I went into the DMT realm that night, when I was returning, and probably facilitated by the U tree, it was as if they knew what stock I was from, what metaphysical genetical code I was meant to be, but they were like, "Is it this one?" And I went, "Whoa, I'm an old. What the fuck?" Closed my eyes and like, "Okay, right, next one." I'm like, "Shit, I'm my dad. I do not like this." Closed my eyes again, and then it was me. I literally got plugged down through my ancestral line until they found the one that fit this incarnation. And that was something I'd already thought about beforehand. Like, why the fuck would I have been an old man? I now, like, I never met my grandpa. If I'd met him, I'm pretty sure I would have been like, holy shit, I'm my grandpa. Holy shit, I'm now my dad. Holy shit, I'm now me. But, like, that was weird enough. If that had been the only trip, and then I read all this stuff about it's the U tree's a tool for connecting you to your ancestors and this. Like, I was strung between two U trees. I pissed against one of them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was there for 72 hours, like fucking leaning on him and sitting on him, and like like the U tree itself sounds fucking crazy enough. Like, I'm pretty sure if I'd went down there and just camped, maybe a little weed, I would have had some crazy dreams, or I might have had some kind of vision. But oh, no, 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 I don't do things by half. I went down to one of the most poisonous psychoactive trees and sacred trees in the history of mankind, and then took one of, or if not the most powerful psychedelic known to mankind in, the DMT world, the U tree world, I think, and so yeah, that's the camping trip story. So here's where it gets a little bit weird. Um, so since then, I still had like DMT, but I took a couple of days off because like there's always a bit of fear going into a DMT trip, but I just did not want to go back to that other reality because I had no place there. I don't think any human of this type has a place there. I think that was a more, not primitive place, but there was more. I think that world was closer to the, well, it might have been the other world. There was definitely mojo there, and whoever this person was behind me, they had bad mojo, and I'm sure that they had just hacked the connection or used the U tree. Obviously, do you know what I mean? I didn't know this at the time. I was just going with the information I had, and then the U tree shit comes with it, and it just blows the whole fucking thing wide open. And again, draw your own conclusions. I do not give a fuck. I'm the one that went through this. I'm the one that's been lying in bed at like night, basically every night since then. Just what the fuck? And then there's more stuff as well. So I took maybe a week and a half off DMT. Mm, that's a lie. Um, like, in order to have a breakthrough dose, you need to hit quite a lot of DMT in quite a quick amount of time, because your body, it's a androgynous chemical. Like, we produce DMT, so your body knows how to break it down really quickly, and that's why the highs, or the trips, sorry, only last like 20 minutes if you smoke it. Whereas ayahuasca with the MAOI inhibitor, or sorry, MAO inhibitor, that can make the trip last like up to 10 hours and stuff. What the fuck was I saying? Yeah, so usually, it's like a dose in a pipe. You hit it in 3 hits and you blast off. But I'm a big weed smoker, and I thought, what happens if you put it in a joint? I'd heard a lot of people saying like, "Oh, it's pointless. It's just a waste. Nothing happens," and all that kind of shit. But I ain't no second-hand motherfucker. I'm gonna find out for myself. So I found out that if you get a joint with or without weed, I prefer it with. Get a joint, put in maybe 0.08, 0.010 of changa through this joint, and then sit in a room as pitch black as you possibly can. Like I've put fucking like I paint canvases and shit, and I've put them against the curtains and that to block out every fucking bit of light, and then smoke it. And each draw that you take, hold it in as long as you can. You'll probably cough in the beginning, but hold it in as long as you can. Breathe it out in between. Do like deep breaths, and you will start to get some of the visuals. You don't need to close your eyes for the visuals; they manifest in front of you. And because it's not a breakthrough dose, because you are not disassociated from your body, you can use it for work, as in like meditation and breathing work and that kind of stuff. And it just adds such a deeper dimension to it. And that's everything I want to say real quickly. When I started doing my own experimentation with DMT, like from my own stuff, I noticed that when I was coming out of it, I felt incredible for like days after it. Like I felt like I was in control of every single molecule and cell in my body, not just in control of them, but I was aware of them. I was like, people talk about mindfulness. I was present in every second of every moment, and I thought to myself, like, I wonder what would happen. Like, I was training like once a week at a trekking gym, which is kind of like parkour, but not. I was training there once a week, and I thought, fuck it, I'm gonna get up, go to like there's a cool tree house someone's built down the woods. Go down there, take a hit, and then see how I feel, and then go training like immediately after it. There was like it takes like an hour to get there, so I'd done that, and I went in, and I was crushing it, and I've basically been crushing it ever since. There is there's no fear anymore. Like there's moves, kind of complex movements that I've been able to do in a gym, but just can't take them outside, like even to grass, let alone concrete. That is gone now. If I can do a move, I can do a move regardless. There's other moves that I had never tried before, but I conceptually knew how they worked. Like I understood the physics of it. I just hadn't done it. Doing like boom, done, bossing shit. Like just there's no more. You're just in control, and it's not. I don't feel it's like a steroid kind of thing. I've never done steroids, but it's not like an enhancement. It's more. It removes all the bullshit, all the fucking the little voices that speak up and say, "Oh, you might hurt yourself. Oh, you might not make it." Blah blah. All that fades away, and it's just like, okay, I want to jump from here to there, so I jump, and that's it. Like the parables between DMT and the Matrix are so fucking close, it's unreal. And for someone like me, like I can do a Trinity wall flip, that bit, and when they're having the big gunfight in the fucking bit with the pillows, and Trinity runs, and she runs like sideways up the wall and then flips off it. I can do that shit in real life. So the parables between DMT and the Matrix are really fucking strong for me. Um, so yeah, I'd smoked a couple of Changa joints, and that was fine. That was more DMT kind of stuff. But then maybe a week and a half later, I thought, right, I'm gonna let's go deep again. Let's have an actual hit, and we'll see what the fuck happens. So I sat down, hit it. Long story short, I spent 20 minutes in an alternate dimension. Same house. Um, like the one of the walls in my bedroom. I'm a massive fan of The Crow, the movie. It's my favorite film of all time, and that film was based on a graphic novel, which is one of my favorite pieces of literature of all time. Like if you read it, it's one of the most emotionally charged pieces of literature, be it a book or a comic book or whatever the fuck. But I bought a couple of I bought a couple of copies of it, and it's basically like wallpaper in one of the rooms, one of the walls in my bedroom. So I hit it, I hit the DMT, closed my eyes, nothing, opened my eyes, and it wasn't the Crow graphic novel, it was a manga comic. I've never read manga comics, my mate was into them for a while, but that was what was on my wall, like a completely different comic. And I'm like, what the fuck? Walked out my room, and like the top landing and the bottom hallway, the walls, I don't know what the fuck you would call them. They're not white, they're coloured. I don't know what colour though. But I walked out, and the walls out there were brilliant, bright white, like white. And I'm like, it's happened again. But this time I was so fucking I was relieved that I was in my house and not down the fucking woods. Do you know what I mean? And there was no bad mojo, and there was no one else in, which like I trip alone quite a lot. Pardon me, which some people say you shouldn't do. it's I go training a lot as well, like do roof missions and shit myself. Like, what does it matter? Yeah, so no one was in, but and Ragnar was out, one of my cats, but Lagerfer, one of my other cats, was in. But this was not my Lagerfer. Like Lagerfer is quite short furred and really smooth fur. She's not like fuzzy or fluffy. She's really nice and smooth. And the cat that was in, it was, I mean, Lagerford's like brown and goldy, kind of stripy kind of colours. This cat was a little grey cat, and like I could Google it. I don't really know cat fucking species, um, but it was completely fucking different. It was more like Ragnar with its fur, and it was grey, and it had like smaller little ears. Its face was much rounder, and it still responded to the name Lagerford. And when it approached me, like it ran up as if it was going to nuzzle me, and then she stopped and she was looking at me, and the look of puzzlement on her face. I swear to God, this cat knew that I was not her Lee. She knew I was a Lee, but I wasn't her Lee. Like she's used to C-136 Lee. This was C-137, and the exact same thing as Woods. I then spent 20 minutes just walking around, opened like the front door. The action on my front door was completely different. Like completely different. The way, like, you know how your door clicks in the handle, but this was completely different action. The door felt thinner. The bathroom was different. Like I live in a council house, and the bathrooms were done up not too long ago, and this bathroom was completely different. It was definitely a council job, but it was a different council that had done it. And the same again, roughly around 20 minutes, and then wherever I wasn't looking, like I would look there and it would be different, then I'd look over here and I'd look there and it would be back to my reality. And that was it. So this started a couple of weeks of whenever I took DMT. I just spent 20 minutes in this alternate reality. There was one time my mum was in, and I went down, and it was still my mum, same hair doing that, but she had so much more wrinkles. And it was like, it wasn't just like surface wrinkles, it was like deep groove wrinkles. Um, there was also, like, this could be a whole episode within itself, but there was one trip where I was expecting, and I'm talking like I've been to alternate. Like there was one where everything appeared to be made out of fluff. Like this, it had this fluffy like kind of texture, and but yeah. So that happened for maybe 4 or 5 trips. I would hit it, and I would go to an alternate reality, just alternate. But then I hit it one time, and instead of spending 20 minutes in an alternate reality, I spent 20 minutes flicking through realities. And I'm talking about when I'd conceived, or my conception of the many worlds theory was it was just a branching off, it was just alternate yous in the same world. And yeah, that does happen. There's an infinite number of just me here, but instead of like this hair being here, I just pulled that hair out. Um, like there's minute details, minute differences. Do you know what I mean? Instead of my ear, like I used to have my ears pierced, but instead of being there, the woman had moved it a millimeter up or a millimeter down or a millimeter left, right, and everything can change that little bit. But there was also alternate realities that aren't based on the same governing principles as this one. We're carbon-based life forms, what have you, and there's just so much fucking imagery that's flashing through my head right now from this. But what happens now is I either spend 20 minutes in an alternate reality or I spend 20 minutes flicking through realities. One of the times when I was flicking through realities, it didn't seem to be as fast. Like all the other times, it's like, holy shit! Like I mean, I'm talking like there was one where my fingers were all the same length. That was the only difference. Everything was the same except my fingers were all the same length, and it looked not the thumb, but like the thing, and it looked weird as fuck. It looked so fucking strange. There was one where I was really thin, and I'm talking like the thickness of my hand was maybe like 5 mil, and my arm, everything was just it was so thin. There was one where everything had kind of the texture or consistency of paper. Like I went like that, and my hair felt like it was made out of paper. And then the one that I mean, there's been stranger kind of ones. Like there was one where it was as if I was made out of goo. and like my teeth were made out of goo. My teeth felt like fucking Tide Pods. You know, see the wee squishy washing machine things that the teenagers were eating a wee while ago. But the strangest one for me, and the one that I think about the most often, hit the DMT, woof, and I spent 20 minutes in an alternate reality where stuff was pretty much the same. Like there was one reality I went to, and the colours and everything like that. It was like, have you ever seen the painting Whistler's Mother? That's what everything was the same. Like same TV, same wardrobe, fucking chairs, but it was just someone had changed the tone, the color correction on it. And it was these really dark tones. There was another one where everything was represented in the same way, but it was like the most basic approximation of it. It was as if this was an HD world and this was like I'd been transported to like a 360, like, or a 140, like resolution world. Everything was really like fucking not pixelated, but it was just a lower quality representation. But the strangest one for me, hit it, transported, and I was made out of wood, right? I mean, I don't know about the internals, but my skin was made out of wood, much in the same way a tree's skin is made out of bark. Like maybe if I'd went outside in that world, the trees would have had skin on them instead of bark. Maybe that was the switch up. But you have no idea. I had no idea. No one has any fucking idea what it feels like to be transported into a body where your skin is made of wood. Still has the same malleability, the same flexibility, but you go like that, and it's wood, and it's not you feel. I felt what it would feel like if you still had the same touch receptors and the same sense of touch, but if it was interpreted instead of through a layer of skin, interpreted through a layer of wood. And there's not really much more I can say about that. After 20 minutes, it starts to fade again, and I'd say I can't tell you how many. One of them, it seemed like I wasn't flicking through realities. It seemed like I was staying in the same reality, but I was flicking through everything that people can be made up of. Like we're carbon-based life forms. There's silica-based life forms. There's fucking. I honestly believe any element or every element. There's a reality where the the beings are made up of that element, and then the same way in this carbon-based reality, all the infinite possibilities that run off of that. There's the same fucking silica-based reality, and all the infinite possibilities running off of that, and then it's just, So that's basically my tale. I have not been back to the DMT realm since. I've had maybe, it's now the 25th of February. I've had maybe another 40, 50 trips since then, and I have not been back to the DMT realm once. All that happens to me now is I spend either 20 minutes in an alternate reality or 20 minutes skipping through realities. Now, this blows shit wide open. This blows open the world of physics, the world of science, the world of fucking religion and everything. But I can't prove a single fucking bit of it. I can prove I went to the woods. I can prove I ingested DMT. I can prove that it was in between yew trees. Everything else about this is to anyone hearing it is pure speculation and probably fucking. I mean, like this is why I wanted to tell this story, right? I'm happy to present this just as a story, just as a trip report. Like there's people that have met entities and been places, but they still believe it's all just in their mind. There's people that take DMT and they believe that it is a chemical gateway, a facilitator to crossing into another realm of existence. And then there's people that believe yew trees are just trees. There's people that believe yew trees facilitate crossing over to underworlds, other worlds, and ancestral fucking connections and all this kind of shit. So that is my story, and you can take it any way you want. I do not give a fuck. But I'm the one that went through it, and from my experiences, I'm saying it's all 100% legit. Because there's just the way it happened, and you know, and I want to believe it's legit because it's such a fucking, it's such an adventure, and I've been looking for adventure my whole fucking life, and maybe that's what, maybe it is all in my mind, and it's just this, you know, all my experiences have brought me to this place, and that's just the best way for them to all be expressed through this dream of flicking through different realities and that kind of shit, because it's something I've always thought was possible, or I don't know. I'm done trying to interpret it. I really am. I've drawn my own conclusions, and I'll keep experimenting. Like, I've not done ayahuasca yet. I should be doing that at the end of this year, but I'm very interested to see what happens there with it being like maybe a 6, 8, 10 hour trip as opposed to a 20-minute trip. Where the fuck will I go? What the fuck will happen? But we've just crossed the 30-minute mark, and that is it. That is my tale. Let me know what you think, please. I want to hear from DMT fucking connoisseurs. I want to hear from skeptics. I want to hear from fucking folklore fucking studying people. I want to hear from historians. I want to hear from fucking anybody that's got any kind of insight into any of this whatsoever, from the DMT to the fucking U trees to the quantum mechanics involved in fucking like interdimensional crossings over, whatever the fuck. Please let me know what you think.